Hello and welcome to the show. Today is a little bit of a different one. We've got some interesting things that have been discussed across in the World of Warcraft fan base. Because if you didn't know this, or if you did and you're just looking up more information to get other people's thoughts, it is really likely that there is going to be an expansion announced on August 5th at Gamescom. Now, the reason why people are saying this is simply because the Blizzard are known for always announcing their expansions at, say, a BlizzCon. However, this year it looks like it's going to be a Gamescom because they're actually inviting very specific some like reporters and everything. So World of Warcraft based article companies and things like that. So there are websites out there that are solely for World of Warcraft who are actually being invited by Blizzard for something. Now, the only last time that they did this was actually for Diablo, which when they announced the Reaper of Souls expansion, they did that then, and I believe that was a Gamescom announcement as well. So if they were going to do another Diablo, they'd have invited Diablo-specific people again. But no, they've chosen to do World of Warcraft, so we need this, especially seeing as they've already told us that Hellfire Citadel is the last in the realm of raids that we're going to get. So August 5th, keep an eye out. It's like a week away. But the question is, what will the expansion pack be based on? Now, I have three theories. Three theories that I've looked around, seeing what other people think, and my main thing that I want is not necessarily what I think it will be, but what I actually want, very specifically, is a Queen Azshara based expansion. So bringing some Nagas into it, bringing this whole sea aesthetic. They had some dungeons. We had some dungeons back in Cataclysm, and there was going to be an underwater raid until Blizzard realised that swimming is terrible and nobody wants to do combat swimming, especially if you're going to do if you're going to look into doing like the whole raid as a swimming thing. However, an underwater based but in a on land, so gravity is correct kind of thing, that could still work. And I just think that would be a nice way to get back, if we're going back all this way to this lore. And it would also allow us to have a redemption story that Metzen really wanted in Illidan coming back. Because if you don't know, obviously Queen Azshara was involved with the Well of Eternity, which is obviously the thing that corrupted Illidan when he drank it to save everyone, etc, etc, etc. Go look at the lore if you don't know that. But that was a terrible description of the lore, but we can go from there. The other one that I'm looking at, which I think is actually most likely, is a South Seas based expansion. Now, a lot of people have been saying, oh, South Seas, da 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 da. And what a lot of people don't think to do is try and work out what that means. Now, yes, that could mean that Azshara could be involved in that, etc, etc, etc. But the South Seas is basically, if you look at the map, if you look at Azeroth itself, here it looks like they've made it so that the equator is there and the maelstrom is obviously right smack bang in the middle, etc, etc. But that doesn't actually make sense. Now, if you think about how our world works, Northrend essentially is the North Pole, so that's where that was going, or very close to it, maybe Canada, Greenland, somewhere like that, is the equivalent. And then if you look at Eastern Kingdoms, Stranglethorn Vale is obviously very jungly. So what would happen is obviously you'd have, if the equator was halfway through it, you'd have the cold at the top, getting to hotter, and then back down to cold. But no, it appears to just get hotter and hotter and hotter. And the exact same thing for Kalimdor. It just gets hotter and hotter until you get to Uldum, which is basically a desert. And then Pandaria is all jungle and beautiful forest and etc. and tropical and things like that. Which would make sense to me that Pandaria is just one either side of the equator. And say the equator is about here. Which makes more sense to me. That just means there's a whole southern hemisphere to go. That's where I'm hoping we get to see. We hopefully get to see multiple lands. But obviously that's a lot of work that they need to do. That's basically WoW 2.0, if they're going to do that. But news today is that this might not be where we're going, because allegedly Blizzard have got the copyrighted name for Council of the Glades. Something like that. Council of the Glades, which is probably in reference to the council that was in the Tirisfal Glades when Medivh was around. Obviously, there's still the idea that Khadgar is Medivh, potentially. It's not likely to happen, but it's possible. Blizzard can always just do that, should they wish. Okay, so there is obviously that, and there is obviously the thing that is underneath Tirisfal Glades. We don't know what that is very much. We know that it, in theory, isn't an old god, and we know that there is something under there, as Blizzard have said several times. But I think we're just going to roll on over with that and just assume that there's something under there that's corrupting the earth, etc., etc. They might do something with that. I find that I'm very skeptical about this, to be honest with you. Blizzard would not allow that name to go public so soon. Like it would just sound. It just seems crazy. It just sounds like one of those things that, because people can actually just claim to be anybody and copyright anything they like, and then get it on the web. It will cost them like 10 quid or something, and then they get all this hoo-ha, and they think it's hilarious to watch people squirming over all the little bits of information, etc., etc. It's nah. I don't think it. I think we should be going for a Ashara based thing. But the question would be, what will actually be added? Now, my theory is that, well, no, it's not a theory really. It's more what I would actually quite like to see. I'd like to see more classes over races. Okay, so normally we seem to be swapping in this new race, new class, new race, new class, etc., etc., etc. But they didn't do that with Warlords. They purposely sat back because they introduced a new race and a new class at the same time, and they admitted it was so much hassle because they had to balance out the class, which was a lot of pain, plus balancing out the race, getting the animations, getting all the art and everything for that done. Then they also had to introduce Pandaria, which was even more work. So it just wasn't going well for them. I'm going to continue doing my dailies while we're talking. And so, basically, I don't think they're going to do both. I think it would be silly of them to do both. I think that if they're going to do one, they're going to do one than the other. I think it's quite likely we'll see more races. But what I would like to see is something that I haven't actually seen other people talking about. It's something that I talk about with my guildies as what would you like to see in the game as we go on. And I'm liking the idea of giving everybody a fourth spec. Now, obviously, that means that druids won't get anything. Poor druids. but it would be interesting to see if we could get a fourth spec into what I would call these hybrid specs. So what I'm talking about there is, so there are classes that are out there like the mage, the warlock, the hunter that can only DPS. Now, I'm not saying that everybody should be able to tank and heal, but there's no reason why, for example, we can't have a warlock who dots up enemies and starts consuming their soul or something, and then uses these soul, like, not soul fragments, because obviously that's already a thing in the game, but using the souls as another type of resource, in which they'd be able to use that to heal people or to shield others. I think that might be an interesting mechanic that they could introduce at any point, for anything, or even bring back shaman tanks. I mean, get them wielding their shields, getting their frost shock with basically a taunt back, or even maybe let's think about it. So warlocks would be like, I'd like them to be healers. I think that would be their best way. I mean, they could tank if maybe you got the correct demon up and it was very much like monks with their Zuan who taunts off you. So you're like sharing the aggro, sharing the damage with your demons. But I think that's more of a hunter thing. And then have the warlocks heal. Mages, I'm not so sure about with mages. I think as clothies, they probably would end up needing to be maybe like a better version of the fist weaving monks. So a combination. So if there was more character classes like the warlocks and the mages that started to heal as they DPS, maybe it might be something that they can actually implement into the game rather than having poor little monks sitting there and feeling pretty useless if they don't go full healer, because fist weaving just doesn't work. I mean, it might work in PvP. It certainly doesn't work in PvE. I mean, there might be one boss where you think, actually, the healing's quite easy on this one, so we might as well just bring out. You might as well just DPS for the first 2 phases and then just heal in the third. I mean, that's what we did with that butcher when at the very beginning, when it was a very, very hard DPS race, and we were just like, okay, first half of the fight we'll just have a fist weaver and then move over, and that worked for us. Getting off track a bit. So what we got else? We got the rogues. Now rogues, I would actually really like to see as tanks. Now that sounds a little bit odd, but when you think about it, there are other MMOs out there like Terra and things like that, which had their warrior classes have the option to be very dodge based. So you were dodging very physical abilities, doing it like that. Maybe looking a bit like the old type of bear tanks, where it was, okay, I now have 80% dodge chance. I might be able to do this for a few seconds before I have to feint to allow the other tank to get aggro or something like that, or share damage or something that's very roguelike. Maybe using some poisons that were increased threat generated, or reduced damage that you receive very specifically. There might be that. I'm going to have a quick look at the classes to make sure I haven't missed anything. Paladins obviously can do everything already, so I'm not sure that they'd need a fourth spec. If they did, they'd probably get I'd probably say healer, like a discipline priest style. shielding and stuff. If they got something like that. Monk is very new. They can do what they need to do. Pre-shaman, obviously I said that shamans could have a tanking ability as well, but I'm not. I mean, as I was saying, if they can already do all the stuff, except shamans can't actually tank yet, then they might not need it as much. Druids obviously are pretty screwed. Then you got the rogues, mage, warlock, and then finally the hunter. And as I said, hunters seem to be a bit more potentially for tanking, for like a misdirecting base thing, a distracting shot thing. So you can try and have your pet soak up all the tanking dots and stuff that you would normally need to tank swap out. That's my phone. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that that might be a way that they can move on from there. And I think it would just be very interesting to see on the 5th of August exactly what they're going to do. I'm very wary, and I think we should all be very wary because this is unlike Blizzard to be doing it this way, to be doing it out of BlizzCon. Does this signal the potential downfall of rare of World of Warcraft? No, I think it's absolutely fine. I think we just need to get more content. We've got loads to do at this time, but with the dailies and things like that. But we're going to start running out very soon, and people are going to start clearing the raids instantly. We're probably going to start once we complete heroic mode. We'll probably move back to doing achievement runs and things like that. And then once you've done the achievement runs, you're sat there for ages doing nothing. So we don't want another Garrosh thing where we just sat there for months on end going, I wonder if we did it this way, whether we could save ourselves 3 seconds. No. I think we need this expansion, and we need it soon. And that's all I really have to say. Thank you very much for listening. I've been the Belladorian. Please like, comment, subscribe. Maybe give me your own ideas. That would be a good idea. Pop in the comments below what you think we're gonna get, and I'll be very interested to see what you have to say. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.